Welcome back to Rich Audio. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thank you for having me, Richie. Really appreciate it.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Eric Koenig. I'm an electrical engineer by trade, but I have been working as a language instructor in Germany for about 15 years now.
Okay, just for fun, I'm going to ask you questions in Chinese and you try to answer them the best you can.
Let's give that a shot.
其实我有点好奇如果没有在德国读硕士，大学毕业如果去德国工作签证是不是很难申请？
I definitely think that Sean Connery was the best James Bond, and I don't think anyone will ever be able to play on that same level of intensity.
Okay, I think we're very off. I'll give you a hint. This is about Germany and working there. Okay, let's try another question. Uh, okay, I'm supposed to speak Chinese. I forgot.
Well, yeah, it depends. I mean, it's up to you.
Okay, okay. 如果要去德国短期实习，你觉得要怎么做？
On average, I would say the speaking level in Germany is slightly better, possibly because the language is that much closer to English.
Great, great. Yeah, we're completely off. Let's switch back to English. Okay. Here are some questions I'm going to ask for some students who want to go to Germany as exchange students.
Fair enough.
The student asks if I didn't study for masters in Germany, I only have an undergraduate degree. Would it be very difficult to apply for visa in Germany for work?
That is actually a very current topic in Germany.
Yes.
And they have just introduced a new program where it is possible for foreigners to come to Germany and reside there for a year and look for a job while they are there. So I imagine that would open up a lot of opportunities, even for people who do not have a master's degree. It's not necessarily a disadvantage because many companies prefer bachelor students because they can pay them less than some with a master's.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's. Another question is that she intend to do a short-term internship in Germany. Would that be possible?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a very established internship program in Germany at universities as well as in industry. And it's very common for companies, medium-sized companies, all the way up to large companies, to have internships. And 6 months sounds like an absolutely valid length of time.
Well, now let's talk about specific places in Germany. That's I don't know how to pronounce this. Can you take a look?
That's Koblenz.
Koblenz, yes.
Mhm.
So can you tell us more about Koblenz?
Yes, Koblenz is a very nice city. It's in the western part of Germany, getting close to France and Luxembourg. It is where the Rhine and which one is that? The Mosel rivers flow together. So there's an important union of two rivers there. It's in and close to the wine growing areas of Germany. It's in the Rhineland. If you've ever seen those famous posters or perhaps videos of the tour ships going down the Rhine River with the wine hills on the left and right and the castles, Koblenz is right in the heart of that area.
From what I heard, there's not a lot of students from Taiwan going there. So is that area safe, or what do you know about the area?
Koblenz is not an incredibly large city,
Uh-huh.
so it's I'd have to look exactly how many people it has. I imagine somewhere slightly over 100,000 or so. I would consider it very safe. Yes.
Okay.
Although, bad things can happen anywhere at any time, but generally Koblenz is not somewhere
You
you
never
hear.
know.
Yeah, exactly. You never know, but it's not a place that's in the news very often.
Yeah. Okay, why don't you tell us about where you live?
I live close to the city of Leipzig in Germany. That's in the eastern part of Germany, in the state of Saxony. It's a city with about 250,000 people, and it has a large university. It's historically famous. It's where Johann Sebastian Bach was living
Oh,
for most of his adult life, where much of his music was written. He wrote it for the Nikolai Church in Leipzig. So Leipzig is a city of Bach. For the physicists out there listening, it's also the city where Werner Heisenberg,
I'm sure there's no
no
physicist
physicists are
listening to
listening.
this.
Let me give a shout out to the one physicist who's listening.
Oh, actually, I have a friend who's what kind of physicist is he's studying his master's at NTU.
Okay.
Yeah, physics.
All right. Well, he'll know the Heisenberg principle, and Werner Heisenberg was a professor at the university in Leipzig at the beginning of the 20th century.
Great. Hopefully he'd listen to this. You've been to Taiwan many times?
I think this is my fifth visit, yeah.
Yeah. What's your idea, impression of Taiwan?
I like Taiwan a lot. There's a lot to be said. It's not too big. It's
It's
possible.
quite small. I'll say
It's
it's
quite
quite small.
small, yeah. It's possible to get a much better feel for the country than perhaps a larger country. You can get anywhere on a day trip and be back home again.
Yeah.
I like the culture here is so completely different from what I'm used to, from where I grew up and where I live. It's fascinating. Any walk through a market, and I see things I've never seen before. I find the people very, very friendly. I've never had any negative experience here, actually.
No, none.
None. It's pretty
Wow.
amazing. I mean, if I did, I forgot about it already. So it's
Just
it's
great.
it's my happy place.
So we can see you very often. Then.
Well, I'd like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope to continue my relationship with Taiwan.
So you worked with Datong University,
Yes.
the Applied Foreign Language Department,
Hmm.
and have you worked with many students here?
Well, I've been teaching courses. Now, I had a number of block courses where I came here in the past,
Yes.
but for the past 4 years, I've been teaching an online course every semester. So, averaging slightly over 20 people per course. Of course, some people take both courses, but that alone, 8 times 206, so, between 100 and 200 students.
What's your impression of Taiwanese students in general?
Well, I find them very pleasant to work with. They are always very polite.
Yes.
They take the assignment seriously,
Oh,
and I get the feeling that they appreciate what I'm trying to do.
oh, okay. Do you, would you recommend them to go to your university as an exchange student?
We have had students from Datong at my university in the past. It's been AFL students.
Yes.
So they are able to go over there. They are able to earn some credits towards their degree. So it's not that they lose a semester. And I think Nuremberg is a fine place to spend a semester or even a year. The the university is well established. We're used to having international students. We're a fairly large city. And we have good transportation ties to everywhere else in Germany and in Europe, for that matter.
What's your experience with some of the students that had already went to Germany?
The ones that I knew, the Datung students, I think did very well. They also enjoyed being in Nuremberg, but of course they used it as an opportunity to travel and see more
Yeah.
of Europe. There again, we'd have to ask them in detail, but I think overall it leaves a relatively positive impression on them.
Well, I think for a student to go to another country as an exchange student to stay for a long period of time, it's really important to know that to understand the difference in the academic way of just the difference between the two countries. What would you say is the most important thing they should know before they go?
A major difference I noted, because I'm originally from the United States, I've been in Germany now for about 30 years. The German system places much more emphasis on the personal responsibility of the students. So, for example, at a German university, there is no mandatory attendance.
So you don't have to go to class.
You do not have to go to class. The It's possible to simply register for the course and then show up for the exam. That's another thing. In the German system, there are no midterms. In many cases, there's only a single exam,
Single
and
exam,
that's
wow.
at the end of the semester. It all boils down to that one
So,
exam.
so it's like you take one exam and you're done for the class.
Yes,
Wow. So if you failed the exam, you failed the class.
that's correct.
That's quite scary, don't you think?
I think they get used to it. It's, of course, we could discuss whether pedagogically it makes the most sense to have it that way. At least with a midterm, the people are studying, more than once before the exam. I'm not sure how that system came to be historically, but that's the way they do it. So it's not uncommon for me to have people show up for the final exam and have never seen them before.
Oh, would you be, unhappy that they never went to your class, or just
Well, as a teacher, I do put time and energy into preparing my courses,
Yes.
and I feel I'm giving it a whole effort. Someone that only shows up for the exam, I don't have that same feeling.
Wow.
I certainly appreciate when people do come to class, when people do the homework, and don't simply try to get the credit points with a minimum effort.
So, for our students, Taiwanese students, to go to Germany, I think a very important experience is to make some German friends. Um, any suggestions, any tips for them to easily make a friend in Germany?
Well, when they are at the university, they're in a bubble. We do see the
What-
effect.
what do you
they're,
mean by
they're in a
the
bubble
bubble?
because they've got their place to live, but the center of their day is around the university.
Uh-huh.
So the people that they meet are primarily those at the university.
Yes.
And now we do see the effect that international students tend to bunch together.
Oh,
Okay. Now, of course, there are exceptions, but in general, you'll go to Germany and your friends will be other international students rather than German students.
wow. Do you think German students try less? They don't interact with international students as much.
I don't think that's the issue. It's just that the international students probably are
Bit shy.
staying in the same
Oh.
building. They're probably taking the same courses, and then they have the same interests. A German may be less likely to want to travel and see the places that are international students, whereas another international
see.
student would have that same itinerary.
Do you have students coming to Taiwan for exchange?
On occasion, yes. In fact, one of my own students from one of my English courses was here at Datung for a semester. The problem is that we're primarily a technical university,
Yes.
so we have primarily engineering students. Engineering students in general, tend to have less interest in foreign languages.
Uh,
And then the problem is that they are more likely to lose a semester if they go and travel because they are not able to take the exact courses they need.
right.
So that's something that still needs to be developed, that we have the English language engineering courses in Germany and in Taiwan where the people would be able to go back and forth.
Oh, that's really interesting. As someone who teaches as this engineering mm, English courses,
Hmm.
what do you call it?
We call them technical English.
Technical English?
Yes.
Um, are the students quite engaged because it has something to do with their specialty?
Well, there's always a spectrum in the class. You know, there's a certain number of students who are relatively good at speaking foreign languages, and it ranges all the way to the people for whom it's really torture to have to speak in a
Oh,
foreign language. But in general, I try to structure my courses that they're educational and interesting,
uh-huh.
and that, from my perspective, English for them is simply a tool which can help them function better as engineers when they are working.
So, would you say your class is very specific for engineers?
I definitely try to tailor it to the engineers.
Uh-huh.
I think anyone would learn something, but it's definitely, based on, you have technical topics. We talk about how electric motors work, for example, or how a solar cell works on a technical level, things like that, which may be more interesting for an engineer than, say, a
Mm.
business major.
Can you tell us more about that? How do you start a class like that? Do you give them an article or something?
Um, well, actually, I think it's easiest for practically everyone to speak about themselves. So often my courses just begin with pair work, where the students converse with each other about what they already know about the subject.
Oh, so you give them a topic and then they
Yeah, and just
discuss.
let them talk and get them warmed up.
Oh, interesting. Do you group your students yourself or just let them pick themselves?
When they are in the classroom, because we lose a lot of time when people get up and move around,
Yeah.
I tend to just have them speak for the most part
Oh,
with their closest neighbor.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
However, there are times when I do larger groups, and there are actually specific exercises where I want the people to get up and move around. Then we lose a couple of minutes where people are paired off in groups of three or groups of four.
Okay, I think we can go back to talk about Taiwan.
All right.
Well, tell me, what is your most memorable place you visited in Taiwan?
Well, it's actually here, Datung University. It's the
Oh,
courses I
okay.
teach here.
The
Yeah.
the the tree?
Well, the tree is a tragic incident. Um, yeah, I don't think anybody who sees the fallen tree will,
Quite sad.
yeah, think too positively of that. It is sad. Yeah.
Well, other than the tree, what what is Datong that you remember the most? Why would you bring it up?
It's the classroom coming in to, a completely different clientele than what I'm used to. The students,
What do you mean?
having Taiwanese students rather than primarily the German courses I have, coming in, and where it's relatively rare for them to have a native speaking instructor,
Yeah.
and just the appreciation I feel from the students when I teach the lesson. It's leaves a very positive impression in my mind.
Wow. It's just because it's different for them, it's different for you. It's
Exactly. Yep.
something new, so you enjoy it more.
That's correct. Yep. Yep.
Well, other than Datong, any places like
Yeah. Well, I would say some of the traveling that we've done together.
yeah.
We've been down south.
Which one do you like the best?
Oh, they're all good. I mean, I really like
Oh,
the Sun Moon
oh,
Lake.
we did
We took a train
move
ride.
around, yeah.
Yeah, we went down to
Taichung.
Taichung, right? We saw the famous theater
Oh yeah, yeah.
with your cousin.
Well, yeah.
I recall that. The party we had down there with your family.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's Chinese New Year.
That was around Chinese New Year.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Yep.
It's kind of like a traditional Chinese New Year dinner. We ate.
Yeah, that was it was very nice. It was very nice to be in a family environment like that, and I really appreciate you and your dad making that possible for me. That was very cool. And also the trip we took to Yilang, is
Yes,
it?
Elon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the bicycles.
Oh, you enjoyed the bicycle rides?
The bicycle ride was very interesting. Yeah, and I also enjoyed seeing the tea plantations.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
went to the
yeah.
tea museum.
You should visit my friend Shinga, the one that sells tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his
Is he in the audience today?
uh I don't think he would be able to understand what we're saying because his English is really not that good, but I'll tell him.
Yep. Give him a shout out.
Yeah, but he really should listen to the show because um well, it's good for his English. He's gonna improve if he would listen to my show. But uh because they grow the tea themselves
Mm-hmm.
and it's really good. He
Mm-hmm.
actually gave me a bottle of tea oil. I didn't know tea can make oil.
I didn't know that either.
So perhaps we could try that this week. And
It's for drinking, or how does that work?
well, he said that the tea oil you can cook. You can add it to some rice and just add a little bit of soy sauce and eat.
I see.
Yeah, never tried it before, so that's something you could try. Do you have any other places in Taiwan you want to visit?
Well, I've been up to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Is it Tarok Canyon? The
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
But then when I saw the pictures after the earthquake,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad I saw it
The
before the
earthquake
earthquake.
was quite crazy.
Yeah.
It's not really not that safe to go there. After that earthquake, I just feel like every day, is there an earthquake now?
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm,
like I was walking and there's something that's perhaps a car that went by.
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
just feel that, there's an earthquake, but there's not. Okay, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
That's all for today's episode. Hopefully we'll see Eric again someday.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Richie. I
Hopefully in
appreciate it.
Germany.
Yeah, why not?
See you.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah, see you next time.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.